On this special Film Rage interview session, we're joined by Marina Tempelsman and Niccolo Aeed, co-directors of This Will Never Work, screening at the 2025 Calgary International Film Festival on September 20th, with an encore presentation on September 28th. Thank you very much for being here, guys. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you for having us. I'm so excited to be here.
Simpatico. We love it. I imagine you both speak with one brain at all times. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. Okay. Well, you're allowed to be individuals in the next segment. It's called Or. And basically, I'm just going to ask you some questions, and it's real simple. You answer it, and you can expand or just give a short answer, whatever it is. It's all about you guys. Improvised or scripted?
Scripted.
Oh, and there's no right
I feel
answers.
like definitely scripted though. We both come out of the sketch comedy world, and there's like, I think a little tension between the sketch world and the improv world sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Sketch being like the sort of like sad, overlooked little brother of improv often. So we got.
I feel like, yeah, especially with comedians, I feel like there's a lot of like, like the writing is maybe sometimes overlooked, and it's like, no, the sketch writing is important. We like planning things out. We like taking our time, and we don't do for people who definitely both work it. Technically an improv theater. We're more sketch people.
I see the nose is a little extended, but that's good. Penny Marshall or Rob Reiner?
Oh, Rob Reiner.
Rob Reiner.
If I'm being honest, I mean, I know Rob Reiner. I don't know him personally, but I know his films really well, and I love Rob Reiner's films. Penny Marshall is one of these directors, and that like everyone's like Penny Marshall, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah. But I don't know if I could name a Penny Marshall film. It's somebody who like film nerds have told me to watch, and now I pretend like I know, but I don't really know Penny Marshall well.
Well, the secret's
Okay,
out.
I'm gonna be fully honest here and say I did just do a quick Google off to the side, like, wait, which films are Penny Marshall films? And I will say, A League of Their Own is really up there for me. Like that is
Great
a really,
movie.
really, really great movie. But
What are the other
I
Penny
think
Marshall films?
let's see, we got Riding in Cars with Boys,
Nice.
Big, Laverne and Shirley.
Nice.
I think A League of Their Own, of the Penny Marshall films, A League of Their Own was like a very big informative one for me, but I think it's got to be Rob Reiner.
All right. Well, again, no winner or loser, but I also agree with you.
There hasn't been a winner or loser yet, but I think that we are going to win this one.
Yeah, totally. Totally going to win. All right. Okay. These are where the questions get tough. Pizza Rat or Subway Performer?
Subway Performer.
Yeah, Subway Performer. I will say, the other day, there was a Subway Performer who kept on, he was doing one of the like tricks with the hat, and he kept on dropping it and then shaking his head and looking disappointed. It was devastating. And then he kind of flunk off. I was like, oh no.
The older I get and the more I work in like independent theaters or independent movies or any kind of just like self-produced art, the more I relate to the Subway Performers. And it's like, there, but for the grace of God, go on. Go. You know what I mean? It feels like there's not too much of a difference between a basement show and a Subway show. And in fact, maybe the Subway show gets more viewers.
You're always one tap dance away from being a Subway Performer.
Right. Exactly. There was one, I had this great moment where like, there was a Subway Performer came on the train, a singer, and I think they were with like their kids. And they were busking, singing. Everyone felt a little uncomfortable, like the kids watching their dad busk. And a train conductor comes out and goes like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Busking, asking for money in front of the kids. What are you doing? That's crazy." And the Subway Performer went, "What are you talking about? I'm teaching my children to appreciate art. This bitch hates art. She hates public art. Kids, let's go. We're not going to speak to this woman anymore." And it was like such a reverse of the moment. This woman hates art.
That's better than any Pizza Rat that I could ever imagine. Okay, texting or phone call?
Texting at this point.
I feel a little guilty saying it, but I think right now it's texting for me.
All right. You guys are...
Yeah, phone call really feels formal at this point, which feels crazy.
Yeah, it's true. But, texting can be interpreted.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're just putting eggplant, peach in every single thing.
Well, we like the written word, too. We like the written word, so it goes with the...
Nice.
Texting. I feel like I've been in relationships where it's been a few months along into the relationship, and then I call, and they're like, "Whoa, you're calling? I think that's too much."
I think this.
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet. Yeah. Usually several times a week, but we're not ready for phone call.
That's awesome. Okay, and the final one: love story or breakup story.
Love story. Love story.
Nice. I'll go with love story then, too.
Okay, so apparently you do.
I'm trying to think of which movies. Yeah, love story. I think I like more rom-coms and love stories than rom-coms that have breakups.
All right.
That's true. Forget Paris is one of my favorites, and I do both several times.
Nice. So you survived. You survived that. Not everybody does, by the way. So congratulations on that.
But did we win?
You did. You absolutely won. You won our love and respect. So keep that as your badge of honor. So congratulations for your film getting into the Calgary International Film Fest. And this is your first full feature directorial film, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you chose to take on a very culturally layered, challenging subject that's a pretty bold choice. What made you start with that?
I think so. We've been writing together for a very long time. We started in college doing sketch together, and then we would do like the Philly Fringe Festival, and then we came to New York and did a lot of sketch stuff, and always from sketch went into kind of plays and then radio or audio producing. So we've been trying to like step up our narratives kind of bigger and bigger, and we always have so we get a more and more ambitious project. And this came out. I feel like a lot of our scripts come out of just like lots of talk that we have together. And we had both been in interventions for different family members. And it was kind of a mind fuck, but then it was also like, oh, well, about 90 minutes is an appropriate time for a movie. So maybe we can make something out of this. And then the details of the story, the family relationships are things that they're not quite immediately based on our families, but like we talked about our experiences and dynamics. And the characters kind of grew up from there.
Nice. Well, which is funny. You guys have some psychic powers going on.
Yes. Yeah. So, because we were actually going to ask you if you've been in interventions yourself, and obviously you have.
Yes.
Can you speak to that?
We have. Yeah, both of us. I mean, it was within a few months of each other. My family had an intervention for someone in my family, and then a few months later, I got a text from Nico that was like, "Can you send me the name of the moderator you guys used?" So there was an intervention in his family as well. And I think that and I think like Nico said, the dynamic of it is such a striking one, right? It's like everybody's in a room. It's expected to be about 90 minutes, but can go much, much longer, potentially. And it's just everybody, you're really caught face to face with the narratives that everybody has about the family. And those narratives often conflict, and there's often twists and turns as you learn what other people's perspectives are on the same thing. And it really is just, even though it's often one room, it's so incredibly dynamic and so fraught. And so after both of us had that experience, it was just very, very clear, like, oh, this is something that really lends itself to like really a story and to a film, to an ensemble film specifically. Yeah.
Yeah. And especially the idea that you have to explain. I mean, we were also both started therapy around that time. And it's kind of dynamic when you're like the first in your family to start therapy. So it's like, it feels like a very different way to describe things in your family. And especially when you have a moderator, you just have to tell all your family secrets. You know what I mean? You have to catch them up on all the backstory, and there's a lot of backstory. And then like some people are more willing to do that than others. And so, yeah, it was just like rich with kind of tension, and just to kind of think about how do you tell your whole family story and how it influences you.
So would you say that the interventions were a positive experience for both of you?
Complex.
Yeah, they're complicated and they're intense, but in it was a positive experience in my family, for sure. Nico, if you want to speak to your experience.
In my family, the person we were having the interventionist the person we were having the intervention for got the interventionist to quit in 30 minutes, just outsmarted them, just outsmarted and shamed them, and it was rough. But I think it's still worth. I think there's things that are still worthwhile because it's worth voicing something that otherwise wouldn't be voiced, and then this is long term. It's not just about a moment where everything then gets better, but it's about being able to talk, speak about your life, and how other people's habits or whatever influence you. So in that way, though the immediate intervention did not work, I think it helped us communicate. It helped us. Yeah, that's important.
Gotcha.
I think it's also unusual to get that kind of insight into another family member's relationship to another person in the family. Like usually, you're so used to thinking in terms of dynamics or like cousin groupings or sibling pairings and all of that, but kind of trying to strip out some of that and just think, what is so-and-so's relationship one-to-one with the other person? It feels really, it is very, you see your family members in, I think, a very much more holistic way when you think about their experience of a different specific member of the family and what that means to them.
Yeah, for sure. I the show itself, not the movie, but the show that was on TV, Intervention. It's like, I think.
Oh yeah.
that kind of brought people a lot to know what that's all about, and that this is a opportunity, right? So yeah.
But those would be disastrous. That was kind of like watching a car wreck.
Jerry Springer's Intervention.
You always have the text going 2 months later, everyone's an addict again, and it would be like, oh no.
Nice. So this one's a bit of a tough question, and if I word it wrong, I apologize ahead of time. But there's discussion in the film. There's a mention. There's a line in the film about white writers creating stories for Black characters. Can you talk about your own process of the writing for Black actors and how you approach this responsibility?
Oh yeah, great. So I think that line where they're like, we look like a family that was cast by white people, or a Black sitcom family that was cast by white people. I think that's something my brother said about the sitcoms, and then I was like, oh right, that seems very true. It seems very absurd that none of the siblings in the Cosby Show or Blackish or whichever sitcom you choose look related. And I thought that was funny because in my family, my mother's Black, mixed family, but I wanted to kind of reflect that, but also we all look like different colors. I'm more like my sister or whatever. And there was something I thought kind of funny about both thinking that some sitcom didn't seem believable because of the children, and then going no, that's you. You're also that. And then I think we want to talk about race in particular. I feel like it's come up in a lot of our writing. We talk about it a lot. And I think in particular with therapy and with the intervention, it was important because I think race does have a factor in who you're talking to and who you feel like you can trust. And so the entire family, it's a Black family, so they don't quite think Trevor, the intervention moderator, will ever get it. And there's a different sense of kind of what reality is, which I think is both true but also kind of isolating. And so I thought the conversation about mental health I think was important to talk about race. I mean, another thing is I guess a thing I feel sometimes is oh, maybe you're just being paranoid. Do you know what I mean? But you can't really trust that from a white man who hasn't experienced discrimination or the type of violence or this. It's it feels unbelievable. And so we wanted to kind of explore that dynamic.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. And in terms of as a white woman, Nico and my collaboration. Like there are so many like different perspectives and like experiences that we have like shared over time. And I think our writing is very much informed by like our individual experiences and then channeled through our collective conversations and then the ways that we kind of build on each other's stories. So it's, you know, that it's, I think that when people get really indignant about saying like, oh, I'm like, what you're telling me I can't write about blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, your inability to understand why somebody might be upset for writing it kind of is inherently disqualifying. You know what I mean? Like the fact that you are unable to see why you might not be good at this is like, or be able to do this means you probably will not be doing it in a very thoughtful way or something like that. So anyway, yeah, that's my.
Yeah. I think there was also, I think also the characters of Rachel and Miranda, what's Miranda's name? Julia.
Julia.
I think was also kind of reflecting, thinking about this idea of something doesn't kind of feel real, like this, like, oh, your experience doesn't feel real, but my experience feels real. And that there's some kind of self-defense mechanism to that, but there's also kind of an isolation to it. And there's something that's distancing that forces those two apart that maybe is not the most healthy. And I think some of our conversations and thoughts about race and writing also comes through in that angle too, that like who do you consider family, how do you build a new family if you're suspicious of everyone, how do you that similar to the idea of like you trust the therapist, so, you know, maybe there's distrust, but then that distrust can permeate your whole life, even in ways we don't want it to.
All right, so talk to us about balancing the comedy with the emotional depth at the heart of this film.
Yeah, I think that as intense as interventions are, I think there's also this sort of surreal absurdity as well that kind of just naturally bleeds through. And I think that for us, like thinking about what it means for a family to collectively decide that like one specific person is the problem, like there's something kind of inherently funny about that. Like just a family dynamic is so gnarly and so entangled, and everybody has their own specific grievances, right? With whatever the situation is. So being told like, we're all going to talk about the problem. Oh, but you're not the problem. Like your issue isn't really the issue. The issue is this person is like, an opportunity to be heard, but also absolutely a moment where you are being told that like your experience kind of doesn't matter because there's another bigger problem at play. And so I think that so I think that sort of inherent absurdity has always been really interesting to us. And I think that Nico and I always really love to write comedy that also taps into other genres as well. Like we love comedy that has a little bit of mystery attached, or like comedy that kind of, has like that's sort of enhanced by a sense of drama. And we really wanted this to, because it's mostly set in a room, but the opportunity for twists and turns come by way of like information being revealed and dynamic shifting and power dynamic shifting in the family. And so when we were casting it, we specifically wanted to cast like really strong, amazing comedy actors, but also people who weren't just going to be going for the joke, like people who knew how to really ground those characters. So that's sort of how we navigated that.
Yeah, I think things get funnier when there's real, human stakes to it. And I think a lot of this film, it's mostly in one room, but it's a lot of characters. And so one thing we were just thinking about is everyone's reaction to what everyone else is saying, and that sometimes people can be very serious, but if you look at somebody else's face, they look like, and there's something kind of interesting in seeing, I guess we're repeating the idea about different perspectives, but that your very most serious perspective could seem so absurd to the other person. And then also with the intervention, I think they say a couple times that like, you're supposed to be a judge, but whose story is supposed to be more kind of believable. And so then even high stake things, emotional things can still be very funny, can still be very absurd. And I think they kind of complement each other in that way.
Yeah, for sure. And, when you see like half of the movie is the reactions of each person too, right? Like that's what really engages you with the characters for sure.
All right. So how does your creative partnership actually work?
Oh, yeah. Okay, go ahead. No, you go.
No, I was going to say we've been writing for this script for a while. We started it maybe a little while after those interventions. And then a few years ago when we were like, we're going to make the film, it kind of ramped up even more. But I think the way we write is, I think Marina had the idea for the twist of this story. And we both knew we wanted maybe like an intervention story, but Marina thought of a couple of twists. And then we both just like write a bunch of scenes. We're not the most planny people. So we write a bunch of scenes, we have a lot of conversations. And then once we've written a bunch of these things, we look back and go like, okay, so what are we repeating? What feels like, what feels like, what are we talking about here? And then we go back and do a reverse outline once we've like kind of made these characters a little bit. And sometimes the scenes will contradict each other. Sometimes the scenes will be kind of two different paths. But we kind of let all that exist for a long time and just write all of it and then go back to like, okay, so for this to be a story, well, this needs to happen here, and then this needs to happen here. And it seems like we're both interested in blank, and so we'll build that out. But it's like a lot of rewriting and conversations, and then once we've generated a lot of stuff, going back to make it fit a format.
Yeah, and then I think that like that's really part of the fun for us is like at the very beginning when it's like the story could sort of be anything. I mean, you're finding it by way of those little pieces, and then I guess Nico said that reverse outline moment where it's like, okay, so we have various versions of this one where the sister like works at a bank, one where she's a historian or whatever, and like what actually makes sense, and then when you are able to then go through and then in all the rewriting process, kind of like bring it all together and then lean into the characters. Like you find, I think often even by way of like making the choice, like which one are we going to pick for this character? You're actually like kind of settling them into feeling like real grounded people and sort of actually articulating like why it is that this would make sense for them or that would make sense for them or, whatever. So you really are sort of building up these characters. And then the other thing that we did for this one in particular, when we reverse outlined it, we didn't just think about it in terms of kind of the beats of the story playing out for the characters. We really thought about it from the audience perspective, like what are the reveals that are happening as we go, in part because, the shooting script for this, like there's a couple of scenes at the beginning, 2 scenes at the end, and then one extremely long scene in the middle where the intervention is happening, right? And so I think that there's that the ability to think like, okay, we aren't like cutting to new locations. So what is the information that marks the end of one piece of this or the reveal that marks the end of this section? And like means that we're in a new place. Like the dynamic and the power shifts are what mark the scenes from this. So that was thinking about it first from the character's perspective and then from the audience's perspective, like when are they internalizing new information so that we're keeping this interesting for them. That was sort of the other way that we had to approach it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, it doesn't even look like there's a challenge for you to go from short to feature. So, I mean, you guys have been working together for over a decade now. I think it's more than 15 years or something you guys have been working together.
I think it's like 18. I think our collaboration can smoke cigarettes now. I think that's what we
yeah. So do you still feel you're in that creative honeymoon phase or have you hit the 10-year itch?
I think it depends on the project. Because we just a few months ago we were reworking a script we were really excited about, and then you're kind of in that world and you're excited about it, and then your manager's like, maybe give me something else, and you're like, well, what do I know what I'm doing? And then you have to like live in a void for a little bit, generate some new ideas. But I think the kind of whatever the excitement honeymoon, I think it's kind of like the daydream part of the writing. It comes back, but I think it's more project associated than like overall relationship. You know what I mean? Because, you'll feel exhausted after you make the movie, and then you're like, I'll never be able to do that again. And then you're like, no, this is exciting. Yeah, let's do it. And you're like, oh, no, you need to get money. So how are you going to do that? Oh, this is never going to work. Blah, 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 blah. And you're like, no, but this is really cool. We like it. So I feel like that. It goes up and down, but it depends on the project and where you are in that project. Because I both felt incredibly excited, so happy that I could make this, and then also a deep fear about like, well, what's next? How does anyone make a movie now? We're hearing interviews with directors who say they can't get funding, and it's like, and so I think that it comes in waves.
Yeah, and in terms of like our collaboration itself, like I think that what's nice is that like I do remember like there was sort of the initial period of being like, oh, we work together really well. I really love this experience. And what's really nice is that we've like continued to build on that relationship. Like I think that is, we have like a many years long foundation to our creative partnership where we can like talk through the things that we feel when we feel disconnected on them and like get ourselves like realigned and refocused. And we have periodic, we call it the State of the Union, where we're like chat through sort of what we're thinking about, if there's things that, need fine tuning or revising, because like it is, it's like a creative collaboration. It's like a real relationship. That's like a very, and it's one that I feel very, very lucky that I have with Nico.
Same. Ditto.
Brilliant writer. And it's really fun to like see what comes out of our sort of collective brain trust.
Work spouses. They're the best.
Yeah.
Okay, so having them watch The Cosby Show at the end of the film is an interesting choice. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I think The Cosby Show so from our sketch to like narrative writing, we often write a lot of sitcoms, pilots, try to pitch TV shows. And I think this movie in particular feels a little sitcom-ish because it is like a family in a room around a couch. Yeah, but like very much like whatever, more of a drama than that. And so I think you were thinking about like whatever, what's the normal family? I think there's going to be a sitcom connection there. I think also because it's kind of a bougie family, they're like more upper middle class. It feels like The Cosby Show is kind of representative of that. Because when I was growing up, people would call you like whatever, a Cosby kid or whatever. But it feels like such a marking of both like class and race and whatever. That it's not very representative. And kind of the last element of it was the feeling of like, is the TV show irredeemable because of Cosby and kids or anything left here? I think that no, there's still some moments in it. There's still humor in it, and so it was like connecting thematically, just the idea of like, oh, is this salvageable? Should we see ourselves? I think that was the train of thought around it.
Yeah, I think it really inherently is like contains the idea of like a landscape that's always shifting, right? And like a way that like anything is like the lens of that you look at a family, that you look at any dynamic is always shifting. So I think that it feels only right at the end to sort of have that moment where like, what will this mean in a little bit, in a year, in 10 years, in 20 years? Like what does this moment come down to?
Yeah, it's a perfect moment in the film, by the way. So yeah, we both really fully love the film, and we hope that this just goes crazy and goes everywhere.
Thank you.
And that's kind of it. It's funny when we set out your question scope, and then you answer half the other questions as you're talking. That makes our jobs a little easier for sure. So I want to thank you both for joining us, even with all the technical difficulties. We normally actually don't edit anything, so we will have to do an edit on this, unfortunately.
I did sing a little bit in hums.
You can put that over the opening credits, Nico just singing the whole music.
That's literally the absolute best. So
now you have to license that from Nico, though.
Yeah, of course, totally. So can you tell our listeners where they can worship you from afar, like we do here at Film Rage?
Oh, yeah. You can check out our website, marinaandnico.com. I think that has all of our sketches, we have a lot of great radio plays. Like For the Truth, called The Off Season, which we really like. We had a series called Murder. This is a murder mystery radio play. But marinaandnico.com. And then I think on YouTube or Funny or Die or a number of those websites, you can just Google Marina and Nico, and you can see one of our many sketches. We have a lot of short film sketches out there. So either Google Marina and Nico or go to our website, marinaandnico.com. Nico is spelled 2 C's.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks, Ragers, for listening. As a reminder, tickets are available to see This Will Never Work at the Calgary International Film Festival. It has 2 showings, as Bryce has already mentioned. September 20th at 4 p.m., which I believe Nico's coming to with the actors. Is that right?
Yeah, I'll be there. Well, excited to see all y'all at the festival. Never been to Calgary. Excited to check it out.
Sweet. Well, you're coming at a really good time. It could be snowing. So that's September 20th at 4 p.m. at the Globe Up, and September 28th at 11:45 at Chinook 14. Make sure to grab your tickets at ciffcalgary.ca before they sell out, and I'm hoping this really does both times. That's it for this special Film Rage interview sesh at CIFF, and where you can find everything about the festival at ciffcalgary.ca, including your place to buy tickets. Until next time, Ray John.
Ray John, guys.
Rage.
Rage.